Oh, there we go. Event recording is in progress. All right.
Can I be heard?
Yes,
Sorry?
we hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Cool.
I had unmuted myself and then
Elliot.
it wasn't talking, so I couldn't get my mic to work. I apologize. I just wanted to just drop a quick reminder before we begin to, if you're calling in, just to state your name. It's really helpful for me as I'm recording the minutes. Also, if someone's making a motion or if they second the motion, just make sure you state your name as well, just so I can capture it. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. Okay. We have a couple people who have called in, and I'm going to go through one by one and unmute and ask people to state their names.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this is call-in user 1703302. Can you please state your name? I have unmuted you. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next person. This is phone number 703356. Can you please state your name?
Carol Herrick, McLean.
Oh, great. Okay, I will leave you unmuted if you'd like to mute your phone on your end. And this is phone number 703674. Can you please state your name? Okay.
Hi, this is Chris Barbersack, calling from Fairfax.
Oh, great. Okay, I'm going to leave you unmuted if you'd like to mute yourself from your end. I'm going to try the first number one more time. This is phone number 703302. Please state your name.
Yeah, that's Steve Sherman.
Okay, great. I'm going to leave you unmuted if you'd like to mute yourself on your end.
Okay.
We also have 3 additional attendees. Would you like for me to state their names for the record?
Did Cheryl leave us?
Sorry. No, I muted myself.
Okay.
So
do
Grace,
you
yes,
want
if you want to state their names of the attendees, you can do that.
Okay, we have Olga Perez, Robin Ramey, and Tody Cairns.
All right. Thank you. And welcome to the attendees who are listening in. We appreciate your observations this evening. I'm going to call to order the Fairfax County History Commission.
Trying to get in.
I'm sorry?
I said, this is Liz. Elisa Pettit is trying to get in, but she was told that the meeting had ended on whatever she's getting on with that.
Maybe, well, I can't imagine what other meeting of ours she would have a link for.
Can you help her, Grace?
Yeah, can she send me an email and I can resend the link?
Okay.
All right, thank you. So we're going to call to order the Fairfax County History Commission meeting for Wednesday, October 6th. Because of the, to conduct this meeting wholly electronically, the History Commission needs to make certain findings for the record to evidence our compliance with all applicable laws. These motions address this compliance. First, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and your location. I ask that each of you pay close.
Excuse me a second, and we're being recorded? It's okay?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you.
I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Thank you, Anne. I wouldn't want to go through this all over again.
Me too.
Lynn Garvey Hodge. Did I call the one person who's not here quite yet? Barbara Peters haven't managed to call in yet. Steve Sherman.
Yeah, Steve Sherman, Lee District in Franconia.
Ann Stuntz.
I'm here in the Vienna area, Hunter Mill District. Ann Stunts.
Ann Barnes.
Ann Barnes, Mount Vernon District. I'm in Gunston.
Barbara Naif,
Barbara Naif in Reston, Virginia.
Carol Herrick,
Carol Herrick, McLean, Virginia, Drainsville.
David Myers,
David Meyer, City of Fairfax.
Bob Beach, are you on yet? Bob often calls in, but I don't think we heard him earlier. Okay. Esther McCullough.
Esther McCullough, Sully District.
All right. Elise Murray,
Elise Murray, Vienna.
Phyllis Walker Ford, is there somewhere, Phyllis? We were
Phyllis
just
Walker
on-
Ford, Clifton, Lee District.
Okay. Gretchen Bulova. Gretchen, are you with us yet?
Yep, I'm here. Gretchen
there
Boulevard,
you are.
Braddock District.
Okay. Subi Mehdi,
Subi Mehdi, Drainsville, McLean.
Sue Kovacs Schumann,
Sue Kovacs Schumann, Providence District, Mantua.
Tammy Manarino,
Tammy Manarino, Mount Vernon District.
Mary Lipsy,
Mary Lipsey, Springfield, Braddock District.
Jordan Tannenbaum,
Jordan Tannenbaum, Fairfax, Springfield District.
Sally Lyons,
Sally Lyons, Mount Vernon District, Colchester.
that's my totally random order. I'm sorry, you guys are trying to anticipate who I might call next. Lynn has not signed in with us yet. Barbara Peters, who's still not yet with us, nor Bob. So hopefully they will join us, and we'll make note of that when they do. All right. At this point, I'm going to pass the virtual gavel to, I'm going to pass it to Esther, since she's our sort of parliamentarian, and pass the virtual gavel to Esther so that I may make the appropriate motions. I move that the, and here we have the gavel. I move that the History Commission certify for the record that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
Is there a second?
Jordan seconds.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those that oppose, nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries.
Thank you. Second, I move that the History Commission certify that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this commission and the public to physically attend this meeting in person, and the usual procedures cannot be implemented safely or practically. As a result, I further move that the Fairfax County History Commission conduct this meeting wholly electronically through a dedicated video and audio conferencing line, and that the public may access this meeting by calling 1-844-621-3956 and entering access code 2334-499-8845.
Is there a second?
I second Jordan.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose, motion carries.
Thank you. Thirdly, we need to state the need to dispense with FOIA's usual procedures. Finally, I move that the History Commission certify that the matters on its agenda today relate to the COVID-19 emergency itself, are necessary for the continuity in Fairfax County government, and or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of the History Commission's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities.
Is there a second?
Second that. I second that. It's Ann Stunz.
The motion has been second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those that oppose, nay. Motion carries. So,
All right. Thank you so
Madam
much.
Chair, here's your gavel.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. So We have special guests this evening, Amy Wells from Fairfax County Park Authority, and Liz Crowell is also joining us as she usually does. This is actually going to forego her, her spoken report. If you have any questions after Amy's presentation, feel free to address them to her then. And I do want to begin by acknowledging the passing of John Rutherford and how saddened I am personally by that. I'm sure that other commissioners
Yes.
might wish to express similar sentiments. So, all right, Amy.
Thank you. I appreciate your condolences. We are most certainly just still reeling and likely will be for quite some time. I am somebody who doesn't usually cry at work, but I did a fair amount today. I know John worked with probably all of you at some point or another with your own research or with History Commission projects, and it was one of the things he really loved to do is just sit and show you what he could provide and how he could sort of dig virtually through Fairfax with all of you. And so I know you will miss him, and certainly the hole in our office will not be filled anytime soon.
Thank
So I
you,
appreciate
Amy.
the
Thank you, Amy. He was there when I was there, so I worked with him as staff, and he never ever hesitated when you asked him, "Can you please help me?" He was just always there and always did, and such an incredibly smart and gifted man. And so, anyway, yes, I'm sad too. So, thank you for coming tonight and giving us your presentation.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for having us. And I believe at the beginning of the meeting, it was mentioned that along with us today, I'm not sure if Elisa got in. If not, I'll just brag on her. So I believe two of my other colleagues, Dr. Elisa Pettit and Robin Ramey, are here with us today. So they are incredibly important parts of our team as well. So it's nice to have a little backup singers as I sing.
They have both called in. Would you like me to unmute them?
Oh no, you should keep them muted. Trust me. I think if you would like to unmute them, so in case a commissioner has a specific question, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So Elisa, you are now unmuted, and Robin, you are now unmuted.
All right, behave, ladies. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Like I said, it's just a quick one, but we wanted to give you an update. So let's see if this works for you. Thanks. You see a pretty little presentation? Excellent.
Yes.
Then we're doing the right thing. All right. I think at this point now with WebEx, I've used every virtual meeting software now. So I appreciate the opportunity to get one more under the belt. So as I know most of you know, we were given a substantial grant by the History Commission, and I wanted to let you all know where we were with both spending that money and what it allowed us to do. That's the most important part. So the most important initiative that I had when I came in was making our in-field data collection streamlined and easier to manage, honestly, just from a paperwork perspective, but also from removing any human error. People's handwriting can be iffy, especially at the end of a long day. You can spill a cup of coffee, you can smear some dirt on your field paperwork. And so what we were able to do with History Commission funds is purchase iPad devices for our entire field team. And you can see a picture here. That is Robin out in the field with a GNSS. It's like an extra super powered GPS device on a little antenna. And she's got the iPad hooked up to it. And that device will give her sub-centimeter accuracy of where she is in space. So survey level accuracy. And that is actually at an emergency repair that had to be done at the Agnetti house down in Colchester. Sally, if the beeps kept you up, I'm real sorry about that. So there was a plumbing issue down at the Agnetti house at Colchester. You may know it as the Hannah P. Clark house. And so we went, as we do, and monitored that construction so that the repair wouldn't damage any archaeological sites. And so we could document what the Park Authority staff did. Sometimes when we were trying to figure out what happened here, it's not that anything happened in the very distant past. It was that in the recent past, we had a plumbing issue or laid fiber optic cable or something like that. So this allows us to do that. And then on the little picture on the right-hand side, I know that doesn't look like much, but that is a portion of Riverbend Park in, that must be in Drainsville District, I think.
Yes.
Riverbend is, yeah. And so you see those little dots there, and each of those dots represents a hole in the ground we intend to dig. And when we would bring survey equipment out, it's like 60 pounds on a backpack of this big piece of equipment that you're trying to get a sight line through trees and shrubs and vines. And it's hard, nasty work, and it's really difficult to do on that varied terrain like Riverbend has. So this allows us to go out and blink, 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 the little flags so that we can get those holes dug. But more importantly, I think I provided it here. We are actually collecting all of the information about the soils, about the artifacts that we find right in that iPad in a program. So this is an example of the excavations that we did ahead of some repair work that happened at Ash Grove over the summer. And so the top left, if I do a laser pointer, can you see this little light?
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's so good. How exciting. So the blue shows work that was done actually prior to the townhouses going in Ash Grove. So that is work that Dr. Pettit was able to put into our GIS so we could see the work that was done in, I believe that was the early 90s. And then here, these orange marks are work that actually Elisa and John Mays and myself did, I want to say 2 years ago. And then we did some work on the meat house there, or the smokehouse out there, and that's visible. And then this is the work that we just conducted. So what that allows is just to put us in space, let us know what we found before while we're in the field, instead of going back to the lab, looking at the files, going back out into the field, having that all at our fingertips. So you can see here, we have, we can see where the, there's, if you've been out to Ash, there's a cement cap around the foundation of that building. And we were trying to find a builder's trench. And you can see here, these purple lines represent features that we were able to see archaeologically. And then we were able to record them both as photos right there, again, right in the app. And then here's Robin going the extra mile to get a nice photo. I'm sure she's pleased I put this photo in. But going the extra mile to get a good photograph. But it's all attached and in this integrated GIS. This is Colleen Boyle, our crew chief, and she's collecting soils data at Green Spring Gardens Park. So the time saved here is tremendous. And it would not be possible without History Commission funding. We would not have been able to get this program off the ground. So I am thrilled. The other thing I'm really excited to announce tonight, this is breaking news just for you all, is we are embarking on a resurvey of the cemeteries of Fairfax County. So you may, yeah, it's a big job.
Nice.
I'm sure you're familiar with and we're supportive of Brian Conley's absolutely groundbreaking work on the cemeteries of Fairfax County. But what we found over the years is, well, first of all, that happened when I was still in high school and I'm no spring chicken. So that was in, I think, 1995, 96. Okay, I was just out of high school. But anyhow, that the county has changed tremendously since the mid-90s. And we want to now make sure that the information that's contained there is the most up-to-date it can be. So again, Elisa, her PhD is in GIS, which is what allows us to do so much of our work. She took that Conley work, and thank you to the Virginia Room for providing us the data to put into our database here. And then we're going to go out with the nifty iPad surveys, survey equipment, and resurvey each of those 368 odd cemeteries in Fairfax County, just so we have up-to-date information. They come up so often, and we really need to make sure that we understand what's happening out there. The really cool part, also, did you know that there's a cemetery in a traffic circle? Because there is, in Dowden Terrace. That was one I was not aware of, but there it sits. So the other cool portion of this is obviously the nice part about the cemeteries of Fairfax County, the Conley book is a public document. We want to make this public facing as well. We want to be able to allow anybody with a device and the app to go out and survey cemeteries. So the folks like Mary Lipsey's cemetery group, a Boy Scout group, if you happen to just be in your neighborhood and you know there's a family cemetery and you want to be able to show folks like myself that there's been some damage or anything like that, you can go into the app and take a picture and fill out the little form, and then I will see it. So this is an example. We're still testing it. This is an example of what we hope to have public facing soon, which is this cemetery app. This is Germantown Cemetery, which is in my new hometown, Fairfax City, just down the block from my house. And what that app looks like on your phone, I cut it into 3 so it would fit. But it just provides information for us of what you see out there, what kind of cemetery. And if you're wrong, it's okay. It comes to us for review, but it's similar to like your Find a Grave, that kind of thing. And we're really excited to work with our GIS team and get that public. And then the coming soon, because we need to learn a lot and work with our IT team. So Fairfax County Park Authority just got a new IT branch manager, and she just came on board, I want to say maybe a month ago. And so we have to go through all the county processes for procurement and approvals, but we hope to move to being able to do some of this 3D visualization. This guy here is from Colchester. It's a spigot from the Morris Pound House. He was a vintner down in Colchester. These are stairs at Ashgrove that must have gone to a subsurface cellar feature. And then this here is the Riggs Buckley House. It was under siding of a it looked like a 1960s ranch, but here's what was underneath. It was in just terrible shape. But we were able to work with folks who had a drone to fly over it and capture it in 3D. And can I make it play for you? I don't think I can. It probably is too big of a thing, but we have a model where you can fly around the house and see it. So the idea is to put that online, have a look. I just got an email from Robin moments ago that said the new and improved archaeology branch website will be coming live this month. And so that's where we hope to put some of this new and exciting information, and up to and including the app, publicly viewable stuff. And, oh, see, did it move for you too? There it goes. Yeah.
Wow.
So even though that house is gone, that's one way that we can share its construction materials, what it looked like, and how it was constructed with the public. So we did that with our colleagues at the Heritage Conservation Branch.
Amazing.
Pretty nifty. Yeah.
It's amazing.
So glad it went. It's a big file, so sometimes it kind of chokes.
That's great.
Yeah, so we just wanted to really say thank you. These are the kinds of cutting edge technologies that we've been eager to put to use in the county. We've got a lot of smart, capable, eager archaeologists, and it is nice to be able to sort of harness that energy and use these cutting edge methods. It's going to help us too, just with honestly the amount of paper we have to hang on to as part of the archaeological record. Being able to collect that digitally now is an enormous time save and space save as much as anything. And then I did put this up here because
yes,
as I said, John Rutherford was cornerstone of our program. He worked with the Park Authority for, I think he told me this was his 21st or 2nd year. His birthday was the day after mine, so we always shared birthday messages. John was an amazing prehistorian, knows lithic tools better than anybody else I know. Just a joy to work with, shared his work with everybody. But one of the things I wanted to make sure that everybody knew about John was that he was doing this remote sensing work, the kind of work that we're talking about now with using LiDAR and that kind of thing. He was doing that in the early 2000s with the 1937 aerial photography. And I just wanted to call out this project that I show. I show this to school kids all the time, and it blows their mind. It blows my mind, and I've seen it 50 times. But this little guy is out there in Centerville on a park, in the old Centerville Park, and it was on a property owned by the Rice family. And John was noodling around with those 37 aerials and seeing what he could see, and he went, "Oh!" He probably said a little choicer word than "oh," but we'll say he said "oh." And if you can tell, it is an interesting little star shape or fortification shape.
Yes.
And he thought, wouldn't it be something if that was still there? And he worked with the Rice family and with the Park Authority to go and see. And sure enough, it is still there. It's not visible from the surface, but they found it archaeologically, and the Park Authority worked with the Rice family, and that little fort or redoubt really is now preserved and part of the old Centerville Park. But that was just one of the holy moly moments of work that he did with us. And I will absolutely share anything we hear about services or anything like that. As soon as we hear it, we'll get that out to y'all. But I didn't want to leave today without saying a couple words about John. And thank you very much. Do you have any questions for us that we could answer?
Yes, I have a question. This is
Yes,
Esther.
Hi, Esther.
What this shape? What was that?
It was a little fortification. You know, Centerville was occupied by both sides during the Civil War, and that little guy was a battery, actually, Chantilly Road Battery, I think they call it. And we call it the Star Fort, but that's not really what it was called. But yeah, just a small fortification. It was to the east of the larger troops, so they would have been able to be sort of a lookout and let folks know if somebody was coming.
Was it on a hill?
A little bit of a rise, not a huge hill, but a little bit of a rise out there. Yep.
Okay.
It's on a high point.
Building that you showed us in 3D.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that it looked like a log cabin configuration on one side and then something white on the other. Were these additions or could you tell?
So I would have to look at the historic structures report. It was a log cabin. It had been renovated and reused so many times over the years. I believe the white that you saw on that was chinking between the logs. They shrunk over time, and then the bugs were so bad in them. Some of those logs were not much of log left, and held up by the grace of God, honestly. But I believe the white that you saw was actually chinking or plaster that they were using to kind of shore it up.
Okay. Thank you. So interesting.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Really great. Yeah, thank you.
Amy, it looks like 21st century archaeology. I'm so excited for you all, really.
Thank you. It really is. And I have to say again, we could not do it without folks like Elisa, Robin, Elizabeth Painter, the rest of the team. And obviously y'all's support and, you know, the guiding hand of Dr. Kroll is always keeping us on task and on the mission.
Well, the archaeology program is now along, and it certainly has moved up to the times, and so I congratulate you all. I know you work hard, but thinking of the staff hours saved by having the equipment is just mind-boggling, really.
It is just really tremendous. It is so nice. I know we've all become really accustomed to having information at our fingertips. And so to be able to take some of the information that we've gathered over the years and put it in a format that we can use it while we're in the field It's incredibly helpful. It's just so helpful.
Good.
Yeah, thanks. Anything else?
And I was
Thank
just
you.
going to say, as somebody who worked with the older technology, the difference is night and day, because you're not having to, basically shuffle through reams of paper and things like that to get all your information together. It's all in one place, so it really makes a huge difference. And we sincerely appreciate your support.
Yeah, and I will be sure to come back the next time either we make something live or we're able to make another leap. Obviously, this took some time and training to get done and a fair amount of background work, but we'll keep you up to date as to what we're doing. But I look forward to sharing more of that with you all and appreciate, again, your support so very much. I think we're coming up on 50 years of archaeology for us, isn't it? Or did we hit that?
It'll be 50 years in 2028.
Right.
Oh, okay. Not for a minute yet. All right. We'll start planning now, though.
There you go.
All right. Well, you all know where to find me. If you have any questions, please do reach out. And again, we appreciate your support, but anything we can do, let me know. And again, I know John did a lot of the sort of outreach work with your group.
Yes.
Feel free to reach out to me or to Liz, or, I can share Robin and Elisa's emails too. Any one of us would be happy to help you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amy.
And Amy,
Yes,
that Star Fort story, that would be 9 houses today if it wasn't for John.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They were in the process. They were going to be built.
It was in that zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to explain that, the Park Authority has a new director and I enjoy her very much. And I was trying to quantify the number of historic resources John was able to save by doing this type of work beforehand. And I honestly couldn't put a finger on it, but a tremendous amount, just an incredible amount. So very fortunate.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Thank you. That's my pleasure. Thanks.
And I also just want to say Liz's written report is in the expanded agenda that I sent out earlier.
Actually, Cheryl, it didn't get in there.
Oh, it didn't. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I will forward it along to Elliot, but I didn't quite have my act together, so I apologize.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. I knew that. I made note of it earlier tonight that, of course, you didn't. And I'm sorry. I just meant if there's anybody who has a question for Liz before she also signs off. It's obviously been a rather rough couple of days for them. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate that you and Amy came tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, for your all continued support.
Right. All right. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is I need a motion to accept the minutes and pay the clerk.
So moved.
Second, Subi.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion passes. And so that was Subi who seconded that motion, correct?
Yes.
Treasurer's reports. I thought I popped those into my expanded agenda. I don't. Is Barbara with us? Grace, did she manage to call in at all?
Let me check.
I don't see her offhand.
Yeah, I don't see her either.
No.
Okay.
I do see that Bob Beach has joined us via phone call.
Okay. So yeah, so Elliot, Lynn Garvey Hodge is now here, and so is Bob Beach. I heard Lynn's voice. Bob, can we hear yours to make sure that you can participate?
And I have unmuted you, Bob.
I just heard him say,
Yeah, I know. Say, Bob, just say hi. And where you're from, where you're calling from. Okay. I'm not sure if that's technical or attention, but anyway, I think we'll just skip the treasurer's reports. If Barbara comes in, we can go back to that, and I will circulate them. I thought I had. I apologize for that.
they're on the share file, right?
Yes, they are.
believe so.
Denise
I
did
believe
have
so.
them posted on that. Although I think the links to them for this meeting were a little bit wonky to, or I had trouble finding them. But anyway, unfinished business. Let's start with some good news from Tammy.
Yay. We do have some good news about River Farm. So there's a lot that's happened in the, since our last meeting. And so I'll go through quickly. On September 14th, the Board of Supervisors approved the zoning amendments, which activated the SB 1457 notions on the Historic Overlay District. On September 15th, there was an offer that everyone became aware of that someone was trying to combine multiple properties, including River Farm, to develop as a residential community. On the 27th of September, AHS rejected that offer and rejected they rejected the Nova Parks offer as well. On September 30th, 5 of the AHS board members resigned. And these were the 5 who had originally pressed for selling the property a year ago and sort of kicked this whole thing into motion. So those 5 resigned. And on Monday at 3 p.m., the remaining board members announced that River Farm has been taken off the open market for real estate. So, which that is big news. Now, that doesn't mean that Nova Parks, they aren't going to make a deal with Nova Parks. They very specifically said off the open market, real estate market. So, so their wish is to stay there on the property. And they said their number one priority at this point is getting the property open to the public. So this is a huge victory for, public, community-driven historic preservation. So, so it's wonderful that everything kind of came together to get to this point. And I think that pressure from the community and the actions of our public officials really made this happen. So big victory.
Wonderful.
All right.
Excellent. I only have one thing about the Route 1 BRT that I'll just throw in there, and that is just that there was a protest on September 12th regarding the plans for BRT and the widening of Route 1. It was in the Gum Springs community, and community members came out and protested that that is the only part of the system that is proposed to be widened to 13 lanes. And they are saying that is too much, and why are you doing this in a historic Black community? They walked a coffin across the street to represent the high level of pedestrian deaths that are on that part of Route 1. And so it'll be interesting. We'll wait to see what the Department of Transportation, how they respond to that. So lots of public officials there. So that is all I have to report, and I will write that up and send it to Elliot.
All right, thank you so much. Anne, let's talk about Clark's Crossing House and its hearing before the Board of Supervisors.
We had a, okay, I'm not muted, I see. Okay, we had, the Planning Commission had its meeting in September, and then it was, and it's public hearing, and then they extended it for another week, and Cheryl and I each weighed in. Cheryl is the History Commission and me as Historic Vienna to support the staff report, which was to say we're saving just 2 simple things. We're saving the house because it's historic, which there was resistance to, and we're and we would like the developer, the owner, to nominate it to the inventory. And you guys, we made a motion last time that we would write that letter from us, and so we did. And they only liked the first half of that, which is they agreed, and it's in the exact language is in Denise's report. It's not historic significance because of its contribution to county history or something like that. So that's good. But what we'd like now is it's going to the Board of Supervisors November 9th or so. So we'd like to I'd like to make a motion that Ann Stantz will work with Cheryl and Rapetti to write a letter to the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors to support the recommendations of the staff report, and in particular to include the requirement to nominate the house to the county's inventory of historic sites.
Barbara Naples, second.
Discussion?
It is, it's a good opportunity for us to make a point. I don't know how much of a rubber stamp Board of Supervisors is at this point, but we can make share another bunch of learning, if nothing else, even if we don't get what we want, which we would like to get. Oh, sorry. That's a little discussion. We probably don't need it. Excuse me, Cheryl.
Well, I think, yeah, it's good to hear that, I mean, or just to the background for everybody who may not remember offhand what this is a house that was proffered when an earlier subdivision went in. The owner proffered that house and an acre of land in order to preserve it. And now the present owner is going to subdivide that acre and put more houses on it. And initially the plan was to raise the house altogether, and, working with, Heritage Resources and Ann's efforts, we've managed to get them to agree to retain the house, but they're very reluctant to really recognize its historic value, and they don't want to submit a nomination for the inventory. And so that's what and the Planning Commission went along with that, that they did not have to submit an inventory. So now we have another opportunity to make this statement to the Board of Supervisors, and that's what Ann's asking for.
Did they offer any reason why they did not support it? The plan?
Not that I saw, Barbara. In the discussion, it was just, oh no, we wouldn't support that. When we see Denise, we can ask her if she has any more insight. But it was interesting to me listening to the Planning Commission and the person representing the developer to hear some of their reluctance about inventory. Quite a few people don't thoroughly understand the nature of the inventory. There were comments like, "Oh, we don't want to tie the hands of future purchasers." We're like, guys, this is honorary. I mean, we really did write a subsequent letter because the period was extended a week just to describe what the inventory is about. So I think it was a good lesson in knowing what others don't know about our inventory. And it was great for me as an advocacy person to realize the information gap that we should try to fill.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a planning tool, and they are the Planning Commission. So maybe History Commission can go and be on their agenda and offer a briefing.
I think that's a great idea, Barbara. I mean, I think they really need it. You'll love the letters we wrote. I say letters because I wrote the ones for Historic Vienna. Just like this is what inventory means. And I took all the information from Elise's trifold and other materials. And
Well, and I have a question because I guess I don't really completely understand the proffer as a tool, because it sounds like they're not honoring that as something that applies to the current owner. And I thought that once that proffer was made, it stayed with the property and wasn't just limited to the owner. And so maybe that's something, you know, I need to understand better. And I think for that sort of proffer to be valuable, it really needs to be honored as it moves forward.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, they get lost in the, because they don't really run with the deed, they can get lost in the file. You know, I'm not confident that staff at DPD understood what the 1982 proffer was. They were happy, you know, I believe that the developer thought, even though the developer, the owner, is the person who purchased the property in 1982, subject to this proffer, but they were led to believe that the proffer could be amended. And they were led to believe that by their advisors and by DPD staff. So what I learned from this is that proffers aren't our strongest tool, right? They are a tool, but you have to keep them before them and really fight for them, which is alarming to me and should be alarming to all of us.
Yes.
That proffers aren't really that serious. I mean, if my guy next door decides that he wants to get rid of his tot lot, then I'm like, but wait, it's a requirement of your proffer from 1995. But he can either do it and no one will notice, or apply for an amendment and get it. So I don't mind about the tot lot, but I do mind about historic preservation.
Right. So perhaps easements are, you know, something we need to talk about.
Easements are better, and historic overlay districts are better. And yes, if I had known how, if the original profferer had realized the extent of the weakness of the proffer, he would have taken it a step further, and I would have encouraged him to do so. He was utterly confident that he had saved the house and 1 acre for posterity. I mean, he told me that many more, and his family, that he had saved the house, and then the county does what the county wants to do. So it's a good point, Tammy. Thank you for making it.
Any other further questions or comments?
Just one thing.
Sure.
I do think that in the last 6 years, the law did change on proffers. So this person had a proffer from 1982, but it was in the last 6 or 7 years that all of that changed. So now they're going back and saying the law changed since then. And I can research that a little bit if you'd like.
But the law changed, as I recall, Sue, it changed and then changed back was one of the problems that we all faced. So, but it totally was after the 1982. But that would be good to know if there's something that's gotten a lot weaker about proffers. You know what? Let's ask Denise or her the person who comes after Denise to give us a presentation on proffers and how they work.
Good idea.
Ann, this is Carol. I have a question which I asked at the last meeting, and I guess it didn't sink in very well. If I'm at Clark's Crossing and the WNOD Trail, where do I look for the house, the right or the left? I think you and Denise said you could see it from there.
Yes, heading west on the WNOD,
right.
When you get to that parking lot and the little seats and the park sign, you look to your right down Clark's Crossing, and then you look to the right again. It's on the south side of, if in our minds we say that the WNOD is east-west, then you look to your east-west. You look to your right, which must be north. I'm going to have to draw you a picture and circle it for you on the map.
I think it might be south of the WOND, just remembering the
if
maps.
if you take yourself heading west, you see Clark's Crossing going to the right, and then it's on the right-hand side of Clark's Crossing heading towards Beulah Road.
Okay.
And it will, under this plan, there should be a house between the WNOD and this house, so it won't be visible anymore. There'll be a lot.
There's a lot of houses down there, so that's why I was asking. All right, I'll look around for it. Thanks.
I'll draw you a picture too.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other further comments, questions, discussion?
Call the question, Cheryl.
I was about to say, should I call the question?
Yes.
That's all those in favor of, Anne, could you restate your motion?
Okay, for Ann and Sharon, and I'm taking what Elliot wrote the last time and modifying it slightly. Ann Stuntz will work with Cheryl Rapetti to write a letter to the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors to support the recommendations of the staff report, and in particular, include in the proffers the requirement to nominate the house to the county's inventory of historic sites.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Thanks, you guys.
It was seconded right at the beginning, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, properly so. Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
it was Ann made it, Ann Stuntz made it and Barbara Nave seconded it.
Okay, yes, thank you. All right, Dunn Loring School, Sue, you want to briefly update us on that?
Yeah, the information is in the minutes, and I don't have much to add. I'm trying to find out what does this fall mean, what steps are being taken, and I don't know exactly. But Carl Frisch, the school board member, and I talked about this briefly on Saturday. It sounds like it's kind of a little on the back burner, so I will try to bring that up a little bit. Nothing's happening right now. It's in the planning stages, but they do need at some point to meet with our representatives. Denise knows about this too, so she said she will try to pin down a timeline with me.
Okay, sounds excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for keeping on top of it and being so persistent with it. Confederate Names Task Force update.
Okay. Cheryl and I both have been at these meetings, and at the last meeting, this is also in the minutes, I am one of 6 task force members who are on a subgroup committee to look at community and public engagement and how the task force might go about that. We have discussed surveys, mailers, postcards, what can be done online and such, as well as what can be done hard copy in the libraries. And the timeline for this is very compressed. This would basically happen after the next meeting of the entire task force, which is October 11th, and for about 3 weeks. We don't know exactly what shape this will take, but what has been proposed is having 3 community town halls at Providence, Sully, Mason district centers, as well as a Zoom meeting from the government center. So we can reach as many people and get as many opinions on this. The survey is kind of tricky. There is a working draft and it will be finalized tomorrow evening. We have, besides 6 members of the task force that are on this group, 4 county staffers and 2 facilitators. So, you know, it's an interesting mix. One person who is on the subgroup strongly feels that this should be a question on the ballot, that voters need to do this. So right now we're kind of hitting a wall, and there have been emails flying back and forth in a way that, of course, is not necessarily what one should be doing on a committee. You can tell people how to use BCC, but it doesn't work. So tomorrow evening will be interesting. And then next Monday evening, which is a virtual meeting. Cheryl and I will be at that. And the chair, Evelyn Spang, has asked me and Martin Powell to present the group, the subgroup's recommendations and how public engagement would be. The county, we're putting together like little bullets of here's the history, but not focusing on, for instance, the thing Paige Johnson did that Cheryl shared with everyone, because they're not going to read that. They're going to read something real quick. We also don't feel that we are, and have not been tasked with, saying here's the pros, here's the cons. And so we kind of got caught up in that. And tomorrow night we'll come to some kind of decision on what kind of public engagement. Now, this will be task force members as well as a facilitator, we hope, at each of these town halls. And although the supervisors can come, we know their schedule's busy, we would love to have them there to answer some of the more pointed questions. So tomorrow night, and I will do the report along with Martin Powell at the task force on the 11th, which Cheryl and I will attend. That's it.
And is the goal, Sue, to see how people feel about changing names, or are they
The goal is
ideas?
To get public sentiment on this. We were told we're not there to educate people, but there are in this group some very noted people who have written a lot about the Civil War and have very strong feelings. And so we are at that decision point right now. Just we can't do pros and cons. Let's talk it out. Let's have the public discuss this. We don't think, most of us, that this is a ballot issue, but one member feels very strongly about that, so that will be brought up. And we all have been encouraged to discuss things with our supervisors after Monday night and after the task force decides what part of this they do or don't like.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One is, who are the facilitators? You said there's 2 facilitators. That sounds promising.
Yes, Christy, and I'm drawing a blank, help me with this, Cheryl. Christy Dooley, who is facilitating, and Julie
Oh,
Shedd.
are these the
Julie
George
Shedd, yeah.
Mason?
Well,
These are the
Julie
George
Shedd.
Mason people.
Yes.
Julie Shedd.
Have
She
been
has
working
done
with
the
various jurisdictions.
ones.
Okay,
Correct.
so that's
She
good.
has worked with Christy.
They know what they're doing.
And Fairfax City. Yep, they do. And
Yeah,
it's really good to have them there. I'm appreciating them very much. That's all.
Yeah, that's terrific. I'd forgotten they were involved because they really know what they're doing. And then what was my other question? Well, hopefully it'll come to me before this is over.
The task force is specifically charged with soliciting public opinion, and that's one reason why we haven't really talked to, that's why that's the focus right now, and just sharing with you that that's part of our process. And once we get that input, we'll share that with you.
Oh, I got my question back.
Okay.
So Arlington has just been through this exact same thing, right, for Lee Highway? And I guess Julie and the other person are very familiar with that. I can't remember if they were involved, but I hope that we're learning from all the other people who have done the exact same thing. And because I think you've got a really tough job, your task force. And you don't really have to make it up out of nowhere because a number of jurisdictions have done it. So I hope that helps anyway.
And I think several task force members have looked at Arlington. Some actually attended those meetings. Yeah,
Good.
We are.
Good. That has to help. Thank you.
Any other further questions? There's no motion or any action before the board. It was just an informational update.
I'd like to encourage everyone to listen in. These things are public. Or
Yes,
you can look at them later. You don't have to go in real time. I listened to the first one.
Yeah, and you can watch it it's live on channel 16.
I'd
All
like
right,
to
thank you.
request, could you send us the links to the relevant information for the Zoom meeting and also the in-person meetings? Would you also send Paige Johnson's piece that is written that I have never heard of until I read Sue's email?
That is the one that Cheryl shared. And the other thing is the staffers did say, oh, the Confederate names inventory, which the History Commission did, has this stuff too. And I suggested they pull out those specific sections because it's so big. People are going to call that up and not want to read all of it. And they said they'll have something tomorrow we can look at.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good point. I had not seen the Paige Johnson thing before.
Yeah,
It's
I will
good.
send that out at least because Sue I actually didn't send it. Somebody else, I think it was Ed who sent it to the task force, but I was going to send it, because I was familiar with the article. But I will
give you credit. I
share
didn't
that
do
with the commission because it is it's a really nicely done history of the naming of this. Excuse me, of the history of the highway.
Okay.
Naming is only mentioned incidentally. It's not a focus on that. And I'm sorry, at least there was something else. Oh, the times of the next meeting. I'll give you that too, and how to access it.
Yeah, the publicly available things.
Mm-hmm.
That we can all join Anne in listening in.
Right.
Okay.
It's so much fun to
It's a
watch
good
it
idea.
and not have to be on for it. Watch you guys suffer.
It is a little there's a little bit of suffering in there.
I agree. It was really interesting to watch.
Very.
Okay. I'm going to move on if there's any further comments or questions. Subi, do you have something to update with us, or were you going to send out something first and then we would discuss it?
You talk to me?
Yes. So the
About the
website
website?
update.
No, from what I recall from last time, I had given an overview. Sorry about this. I had given an overview of the changes or updates that you and I had talked about, and we had said that today we bundle up. We talked about whether we approval or not to go ahead with these minor changes. And there was a suggestion that today I make a motion of the major changes that we plan to make, so that if there's any discussion or anything, I can go through that process. So I'm ready to make the motion. This is the time.
This is Mary.
Yeah, I thought I'd move you up just so that it wouldn't be at the very end of the meeting when we were all very, very tired.
Cheryl.
Go ahead, Mary.
This is Mary Lipsy. I just have, I'm sorry. May I go ahead? Anyway, Subi, we need to change the cost of the marker. We approved it on last month's meeting. And it just needs the cost to be changed to around $4,000. If I cut and paste the section for you and change it and send it to you, is that okay?
That doesn't come to me, does it, Cheryl?
So you just
It's on the
forward it to
website.
Thomas. It's on the website, so you would forward
It's
it
on the
on.
website.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, please do. Just
Okay.
send me an email with what change you need.
Okay, thank you.
So Cheryl, do you want me to go ahead?
With the motion, sure, yes.
Cheryl.
Sorry, you're cutting in and out a little bit. Yes, is that Elise?
That's Elise. Have we seen any of this in writing?
Seen what?
Any of these changes she's about to make a motion that we make?
So Subi and I sat down and went over some things, but yeah, that's Subi. I thought that you were going to present a report or have a report that you could share with the.
Because I won't vote until I see something in writing that I have a chance to review before the meeting.
Okay, fair enough.
And this is my fault for putting it on the agenda without checking with you first, Subi. I apologize.
Do you want me to quickly write something up and send an email to everybody, or so we can vote on it at the end? Or do you want to defer to the next meeting?
I think
none of these are critically time sensitive.
Yeah. If we read a memo, we're taking time out of our participation in the meetings. So I think that it should be for next month.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. There was a misunderstanding.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Subi. I should have. I was intending to follow up with you when I put it into the agenda. It was partially my way of trying to remind myself to bring it up and talk to you about what to do, and I just there was just too many things to juggle, so I dropped that. I apologize.
No problem.
All right, I'm going to continue on to new business. Oh no, wait,
set.
Mary, I skipped you, didn't I?
Cheryl, may I just?
Sure, go ahead.
The only time sensitive thing related to the website might be that we had talked about pulling out the history conference and putting it on its own page. And since the conference is coming up, I wanted to know whether we should go ahead and do it or wait until, another month or so.
If that's a motion, I would second it.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
So that would just be one specific, at least you have it, and would you be okay with that? Just one specific change of placing the conference onto its own web page.
Yes,
within
yes,
our
I am
website.
good with something that's easy to grasp and not controversial.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Any further discussion on the motion to move the history conference from the events site to its own history conference page?
If it wasn't second, Barbara Nafe is seconding that.
Yeah, Tammy actually seconded it, so
Did she? Oh, okay.
I guess it was informal,
Yes.
but
Okay.
It's an informal motion that I pushed into a motion and seconded.
Okay.
I think it's a rocking idea.
Great idea.
all right. Any further discussion? Anybody think maybe there's something wrong with that, or should we double think it? It's always good to think twice. All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Subi. All right, we're going to continue on. No, we're going to go to Mary because I skipped you. I am sorry, Mary. I don't know how I did that. Marker contests, probably Freudian.
We had a meeting this morning, and I'm going to quickly go through basic ideas. I had suggested them that we come up with a different name of calling this whole thing a history marker contest. And so the steering committee has come up with something that hasn't been presented before the entire committee yet. So, but just, trying to get the idea that this is not a contest the kids are participating in, but nominations for them. And they're very much, most of the committee meeting was discussing how they could collect stories from African-American residents, and they want them to be written or oral. And they would do these oral interviews at the county clubhouses. Now, I was not familiar with the county clubhouses. Apparently there are 9 or 10 in the, if you have a community center, they have a clubhouse there, which has a studio and the green screen and everything. So they can collect interviews and then put them on the Fairfax County Public School YouTube site, which I looked at today, which I wasn't familiar with either. And then it could be linked to whatever, on the History Commission website with whatever the capstone project comes up with. They also want people, if they're not comfortable with doing an oral interview, that they could write an interview. And so we're working on instructions and template and how many words, etc. We did agree that if they do an oral interview, that we're looking at 30 minutes, just in case people ask of us, how long is this going to be? That is the recommended time. And then finally, I reminded them that whether they write their story or if they're interviewed, we need to have permissions from them, to do this. So generally speaking, that's what's going on with the history marker contest. No longer called the history marker contest.
What is it? Is it called the History Not Marker Contest?
That's what we're calling it from now on.
What we're considering, and as I said, it hasn't been brought up to the whole committee yet. African American experience in Fairfax County. So that would cover the students' nominations, our inventory, and any oral or written interviews. So all three are considered components of that.
Yes.
Does this satisfy the Board of Supervisors, their board motion that they had? Is this going to satisfy that?
Yeah, we make sure we go back and we're looking at press release and everything that was done and combining it all together. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is sort of an expansion of the basic idea of having the nomination contest. This is an opportunity to go out into the community and collect stories and experiences and resources. So it's a way of expanding our inventory, but using the considerable resources of community and neighborhood services to do that.
Wonderful.
And it was something that they thought was just part of this project. So
Fantastic.
So it's actually kind of exciting.
Yeah, really exciting.
Overwhelming, but exciting.
Yeah. Yes, in an overwhelming way.
Yes. All right. Any other questions? Go ahead, Carol.
Is this just limited to African American?
So far, yes, for this year.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand that. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. The Oral History Committee is talking about doing some expanded oral history outreach, and we could possibly, work with some of these same folks to reach out beyond the African American community in the future as we go forward with these projects.
Thanks.
Any other questions, Bob or Steve, sitting there quietly listening?
Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan here. Before you're about to leave old business, antique business. So let me just briefly mention, and maybe you could send it around, or someone could send it around to the members, that in the Fairfax Times Reston edition on Friday, there was an article on the Soapstone Connector and Association Drive, which I think was pretty fair. I think it was a good article.
I thought that was submitted, circulated around the whole commission. I thought Denise did that. Did nobody else receive it, or?
I did. I thought it went to everyone. Maybe not.
No. Did everybody get it?
I can resend it.
Actually, mine came from you, Jordan. My link came from you.
Yes.
I beg your pardon. Right.
Right.
Okay, I'll resend it.
Sure, I got it. I'm not sure.
No.
Yeah, it was a good article.
I sent it on to the Reston Museum, Jordan.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you.
Because I thought it was also just a good summary of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, if it didn't go to everyone, it should, I think.
I will send it out.
Thank
along
you.
with the Paige Johnson and the access information.
Thank you.
Was there any other? I know I dropped off, just for expediency's sake, I dropped off some of the other old business items I usually had up on there, but anything else, Jordan? Or
No. That's it.
Okay.
Let's push on.
All right. New
Not
business.
entered any numbers. Please re-enter.
So the Fairfax County Courthouse maintenance, and Grace, can I share my screen?
Yes, I'm going to give you presenter status.
So
Participant ID
we have been made
followed by
aware of
Just press
deteriorating conditions of the
Please enter the
masonry on the 1799 historic courthouse. And I'm just going to show you some pictures. I'm not going to give you any kind of report.
You are in the meeting now.
I mean,
You are the first participant. Please stand by. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. This meeting is being recorded.
all right. So
You are
can you
unmuted.
see my content? The a screen that says courthouse masonry, many repairs, many mortars?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet? Oh no. Oh, okay. Whiteboard, file, window. How, oh, I see. Okay, now I just have lots of windows open. That's why. Okay, how about now?
Go.
It started.
There.
There we
Yeah.
go.
There.
Yeah.
There.
Okay, so Heather Bollinger, sorry, Bollinger, is that her
Bollinger.
last name?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
Yes.
Senior moments. Very kindly let myself and a member of the ARB come take a look at the courthouse, and shoot, come here. Here we go.
Nice.
And so this is the main arcade of the original historic courthouse from 1799. You can see there's lots of different colors in there, lots of different variations in the brick. It's been weathering rather, well, it's been there for a long time, but it's weathering. And you can see again here, there's some very odd old repairs. That brick is almost looking deformed between the window and the arch. That's not necessarily a danger right then, but it's just part of the, it's just saying hi. I'm a very old building, and lots of things have happened to me. That's a little bit close up of that, the sort of deflection underneath the window. And what Heather was concerned about was the loss of mortar that she's seeing in the facade of the arches and the building, that front of the building. This is largely erosion from weathering. And you can see large gaps where the mortar is just missing on all of that, the arches in the front. There, you can see how deep that goes into the, it's not just surface, quick and easy pointing. They go quite deep, which is going to start undermining the bricks significantly. You also notice the different colors of mortar. So these, the building has been repaired at different points over time with different kinds of mortars, including cement, Portland cement-based mortars that are harder than the brick, and that actually can lead to other difficulties. In addition, to wearing, it will start spalling the brick, and that's what this is a picture of, where the surface of the brick actually is forced to pop off from the hydrostatic pressure that the Portland cement creates, and that means that now the initial surface of the brick, the fired surface, is the strongest surface, and once you pop that off, it means that brick is going to start eroding, and they actually can just turn to dust over time. Heather has observed birds coming into hanging onto the brick side and picking out the mortar in order to get the little pebbles and the like that they use to help digest their food. And so that's why you have particularly deep gouges on that wall there, down on the lower side. There's also cracks are developing, the spalling and deterioration is also occurring on the stone keystones. The arrow is pointing to a crack that runs all along there, which means that the bonding is beginning to loosen. There's another crack on the other side of that in the brick itself. So that's somewhat disturbing. I don't know that you want to stand underneath that arch for too long. And that's the other crack. There was apparently some extensive work done in the 1960s, including repairs of the stone imposts, the kind of decorative bands that go around on the arches, and the stone was probably eroding from acid rain, and they covered it over with cement and then drew lines in it in order to try and replicate the original carving. And this is, again, problematic with regard to the limestone underneath. It really only can do more harm than good. There's also efflorescence of the brick along the front wall by the doors, which suggests water intrusion from underneath, probably from that the brick porch, patio, and that also is going to potentially lead to spalling. You can see the mortar is missing and is eroding in the patio areas as well, which is also probably one of the reasons why that might hold water. And that's just a quick diagram of how efflorescence works and what damage it can do over time. And so things are kind of falling apart, essentially. You can see little bits and pieces that are tossed here and there. And so there was an evaluation that was done as part of the Massey complex planning process, and WRA found that mortar repairs were contributing to the deterioration of the brick along with deferred maintenance. And they rated the condition potentially critical. And that's the explanation of what potentially critical means, that if they are not corrected expeditiously, this can become, will only lead to more rapid deterioration and potential even hazards.
Cheryl, do we know when that evaluation was done?
2019, 2018, 2019. The other sides of the building looked to be in much better condition to my eyes. So I think the critical component is that the front arcade facade, but there are maintenance issues in various places.
Rat boxes.
Yes.
I recognize those. Cheryl,
mm-hmm.
Are they going to handle the cupola at the same time?
There is no plan, so that's the issue.
Okay.
There is no plan to do anything. So I am showing you the problem, and I'm trying to.
Which was there's a time capsule on the patio there.
Yeah, is that what the metal box?
That's what the little plaque is. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would like to do this evening is turn my gavel over to Lynn for a moment while I can be heard to make a motion, which is been brought to our attention at the masonry of the 1789 historic courthouse is deteriorating and requires immediate repair and restoration. I therefore move that the History Commission write a letter to the Board of Supervisors to request that the immediate need for repairs be addressed and that a regular maintenance plan be put into effect. Further, the letter would stipulate that all work on the building will be conducted in accordance with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior's standards for historic properties and conducted only by contractors with appropriate experience in historic preservation.
I will second that. Barbara Nave seconds that.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Could I
Yeah.
suggest, I don't know.
Carry the motion through.
I think it would be beneficial if we could find a way that the commission would have or Heather, whoever put the video together, ever put the PowerPoint together, show it to the BOS.
Okay, that was my PowerPoint.
Hmm?
Those are my photographs.
It's yours.
Get time
Okay.
on the
well, then-
agenda. Yeah, to
then-
request time on the agenda to do that.
Definitely.
Cheryl,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, you might just want to refer to the Secretary Standards in its full name, which is the Secretary Standards for the Treatment of Historic Properties. That's
Okay.
that's the official name of it.
Mhm. Yeah, and in there, I definitely would reference that, you know, that evaluation of potentially critical was done 3 years ago. Because at some point we've moved into critical, I think.
Yeah, that was my question. It was, why was it just sitting there? Was it ignored? I mean, we've had a lot happen besides pandemic and turnover on the board, but this seems like it should have come up to a higher level and some financial discussion.
Yeah.
If I could speak to this also, there's some jurisdictional issues here as well, in the sense that the 48 acres of the judicial center complex is actually considered, as all of you know, part of the Providence District. But the judges have a lot to say about what happens at the courthouse and the buildings at the courthouse. And I think because we've got some, I don't want to say competing jurisdictions, we have overlapping interests, that we were in sort of a stalemate. And I also believe that we had turnover in the Providence District supervisor, we've had turnover in our courts, and a series of, these are all explanations, not excuses. But I will share with you, just a block away, our 1900 Old Town Hall had 4 pillars, and to the untrained eye, it looked fine. And at 3:45 in the morning, one of those pillars literally fell out of the building and went across the street. Fortunately, no one was driving or walking through there at that time, but it was captured on a traffic cam. We have the entire story, and now we're faced with an immediate $700,000 restoration of the front of the building. This is only a block away. I actually, when Heather sent those to me about 3 weeks ago, I also walked over there and walked around the building. And it is quite possible that we could wake up one morning and those arches will have collapsed. That is not hyperbole. That is a very strong possibility. And we had something similar at the 1858 Blenheim Historic House in the city. And to prevent that from happening, we actually brought in the very best people that we could get. Doug Gilpin came up from Charlottesville, who's one of the leading experts on bricks in the United States. And we photographed the entire brick facade of the Blenheim House, took each brick out, numbered it, and made notations so that we knew which side was facing which way. And then really took the whole huge sections of the front of the house off and rebuilt it as if we were starting from scratch. And so this is not something that can be cavalierly repaired. This is probably going to require a substantial amount of money, a substantial amount of time. I will commend the county for their work on the historic jail, which is just behind this building. This past week, they made a huge milestone in completing the new slate roof on that building, and it's really beautiful. They did a very, very good job on it. From my perspective, I'm not a professional, but they're going to have to do the same thing here. And I think I really appreciate Cheryl bringing this up. And I think the situation is much more critical than anybody may realize. So I certainly support this letter. And if I have an opportunity to mention this directly to Jeff, Okay, I am going to do that as well.
Awesome.
I
Sue,
see
did you?
that Amy Wells sent
Your entry
everyone
81312
message.
is not valid, or the meeting is not started yet.
She
Re-enter your
says, for the record, the building is on the National Register and the VA Landmarks Register, as well as being a contributing structure for the City of Fairfax Historic District.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you,
important
Amy.
to mention in the letter, yeah.
is not valid, or the meeting is not started yet.
Do we all hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure what that is or where it's coming from exactly.
You have to start the meeting over, I guess.
I guess so. No.
No, the meeting has ended. It told us that a few minutes ago.
So it sounds like we're all in agreement that this needs to be done, and I've heard a lot of really good ideas for what needs to go into the letter.
So Lynn, you can call the question and take our vote.
Did we include the fact that the PowerPoint needs to be part of it? Or is that just? Okay.
Welcome to
that was part of the discussion. I don't know that
meeting number
I made note of it and will do so. I don't know if you want to add that as a friendly amendment to the motion, we can accept it.
Please do.
Enter your attendee ID number.
So
followed by
Cheryl,
pound.
do you want to go ahead and restate
Press
The
pound.
motion?
just so we know what we're voting on, please?
So I move that the History Commission write a letter to the Board of Supervisors to request that the immediate need for repairs be addressed and that the regular maintenance plan be put into place. Furthermore, the letter will stipulate that all work on the building be conducted in accordance with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior's standards for the treatment of historic properties, and conducted only by contractors with appropriate experience in historic preservation. We will also request to show the Board of Supervisors the PowerPoint that was shared this evening.
All right, so we've already got a motion. We've got a second right here. Don't we have a second? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
So should we include the comment that Amy Wells put in the chat?
Yes.
As a testimonial, I think, yeah.
She'll put it in her letter, in our letter.
Yeah, that would have been included as just as a way of explaining why we're bringing this to their attention.
Right, but
yeah.
are we capturing that?
I did capture it.
Okay, good.
So yeah, on the National Register, Virginia Landmarks and contributing structure to Fairfax City.
National
Historic
Register
District.
and Landmarks, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I know Lynn has to leave, and I don't want to necessarily keep you, Lynn. Can I keep you for one more motion? I think this one would be fast.
Sure.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
No.
So I'm going to continue to allow Lynn to hang on to that gavel, and I want to indicate that Commissioners Mary Lipsey and Gretchen Bolivar were appointed to the board by the Board of Supervisors to the Fairfax County 250th Work Group at the end of 2020. Commissioner Lipsey has recently resigned her position. I therefore move that the History Commission recommend to the Board of Supervisors that Commissioner Carol Herrick be appointed to the Semi-Quincentennial Work Group.
This is Tammy. I second the motion.
Okay, there being no discussion, then can we call the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, motion carried.
All right, and thank you so much, Carol, for volunteering.
You're welcome.
Okay, and Cheryl, I'm happy to stay on until past my
Oh,
place
okay.
on the agenda.
Um,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate your endurance.
Thank you.
All right. So now we are going to.
Jordan.
Term limits.
How could you forget?
How could I forget? It's one line versus the big block of text.
Okay, so this is a discussion that I'd like to have about an issue that I think is important for all boards, commissions, and certainly it's been my experience that this is something that most boards and commissions do have in their bylaws. This is not something that we could effectuate ultimately because I think it has to be done by the Board of Supervisors, but it's certainly something that we could recommend. But this is really a discussion. It's something that when we were talking, and what was it? Glenn was working on, was it Glenn who was working on a strategic plan for the commission? This is one of the issues that I suggested be discussed and be included. And it is essentially, it's also, I feel this is very personal issue because but for the unfortunate passing of Jack Hiller, I would not have been able to probably contribute my experience, my skills, which I hope have been valuable to this commission, as I have been. And so the issue is whether we want to put a limit on the number of terms that a commissioner can serve so that we can populate this commission with new members who bring new ideas and new skills and can refresh this commission, which I again I think is important for the health of any organization and certainly being very, very happy to be a part of this commission and continue to serve. I think I care about its future and its contributions, I think is important. The objection, of course, would be that we're losing valuable expertise, we'll be losing experience, and I understand that, and it's something to be considered for sure. But in its place, we will get new expertise and new experiences and new ideas and fresh ways of looking at things, and I think and refresh the organization. So what I'd like to do, and I don't want it to go on too long, and you'll regulate it, Cheryl, but I would like to hear what people think about this. I think it's an important issue for us, and would like to know your thoughts. And as many people as can contribute, I think that would be helpful. So,
Jordan, let me ask you: Are you ready to hear a question in regards to this?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of have two thoughts and one thought, one question. First of all, what spectrum of years were you thinking of making?
I have no specific. I think are our terms 2 years or 3 years? Do you?
Two.
Okay, so maybe 4 or 5 terms, something like that. But I have no specific opinion on that.
Okay, all right. Because I think it makes for a good discussion. But I also want to say, and I had the good fortune of working with Jack Hiller practically the whole time I had served on the commission up until his passing. And I will say, even for a gentleman who was fighting for his life and 3 times a week heading to kidney dialysis, the contributions that he made to this commission, especially in terms of the marker committee, were incredibly outstanding. And I would have been sad if he would have had to step down. As a history teacher, his contributions to the Commonwealth of Virginia in terms of history and his own photographic skill sets, for which we now have an award named, because I've lived through now, having been on the commission for about 21 years, and seen people like Mayo Stunts and seen people like Jack and even Don Sinise. And while we maybe do not always agree with one another in terms of discussion content, I think there's a lot to be said about institutional knowledge, and especially given this work, people that could remember, this is what happened 20 years ago. For the work that we do, I think that is absolutely imperative, because I will say for myself, when I came on as a new commissioner, it probably took me 3 years to really feel like my feet were wet. Yeah. So I think we need to take into consideration the reality of getting folks immersed in what we've done, better understand what we've done. And sometimes we only learn that just by sitting in meetings and listening. So those are some preliminary thoughts, but thank you. Thanks for letting me
This is
share.
Esther. I'd like to speak and agree with Lynn. I came in just before she did, just a matter of months or days. And as one of the longest members on the commission, I think this really lies in the hands of the board of supervisors.
No, I acknowledge that. Yeah. But I'd like to know what my colleagues think about this.
But I think having someone that's mature in the ways of the county speaks to gathering the history better than someone that just moved to the county. Maybe there's some kind of mentorship program that could spread the idea of what the commission does and help people maintain an interest in history of the county.
Yeah, of course, Esther, just to respond, we don't know who we would get. We might get someone who has a great deal of knowledge and history of the county and knows the ways of the Board of Supervisors, very savvy in that area. We might be surprised. We might get another Jack Hiller. We might, another.
Yes, or another you because of your.
Me, God forbid. God forbid.
No,
yeah.
But yes, I'm just saying, like Lynn said, it took a while just to figure out what we were supposed to be doing. And as we get the advocacy group going, they would be able to help others understand, because you jump on this commission and it really does take a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that actually raises a question that I have is, I really appreciate the fact that we have more than one person representing each district, because I think that allows for some of this growth. And I'll echo the things that other people have said, like, I haven't been on yet for 2 years, and I really still feel like a baby history commissioner at this point. And so I appreciate so much, the expertise of the other commissioners in my district and then also outside the district. And it would be interesting to do an analysis of, what's the mean median mode of, membership in the History Commission, and does this having 3 commissioners per district sort of allay the fears of, somebody who's sitting in place too long? Is that our refreshing mechanism, the fact that we have 3 from each district?
I think it's 2.
Is it 2? Well, we have 3 from Mount Vernon.
Yeah, Mount Vernon is unusual.
Oh, gee. Well, we have the best history. We have the best history, so we deserve 3.
There are at least 2 that only have 1, right?
Yes, I think Mason has just Barbara.
Mason and Providence.
Yeah. Hunter Mill has 3, but that's because I'm in the archaeology seat. And so
Calm down, Tammy.
I was appointed and when Edith Sprouse passed away, but my qualifications, because I managed the archaeology program for 7 years, brought the county's program into the Park Authority. So although I don't actually dig in the dirt, I am very knowledgeable in understanding the archaeology. So I represent that. I would like to make a couple of comments too. If this were a board that we just were not moving forward and we weren't accomplishing anything, maybe I'd consider it. But having worked with the commission beginning in about 1983, every month, and I have seen the evolution of this group, and I've also seen the incredible talent that was here and institutional memory and knowledge of the people that have been on it. And Tammy is new, and Sue Collect-Sherman and Barbara Peters, and they're people that come in, and Cheryl, I don't know how long you've been here, Cheryl, but
not very long.
See, and so we are, naturally, there's a natural turnover and addition of people. So it's not like we've all been here forever. Some of us have been here a long time.
Attrition.
And so I think, and I may be missing one of the newer commissioners, but and we serve at the pleasure of the supervisors. And so it's unique. It's not like an independent board. And so the fact that you had a challenge in getting on, I'm glad that you eventually were appointed, but I don't feel that it's necessary because again, what we bring, and Mayo was a perfect example. I mean, he was a founding member and he was still there at 97.
Right.
And so I think that we would lose more than we would gain. And we all bring something different. I bring something because I worked for the county for over 20 years. I bring perspective that I think is helpful. Everybody brings something different, and you certainly bring from the national level. So, and David, having come in from Fairfax City, thank you, David. We had no idea what it would be like to have you here, but you just start, you do wonderful things and are, I think, a good joint. And I could go through each one of us and explain the particular skills, talents, and the particular passions we have to each one of us. So I think we're fine as we are. So
Great. Okay. Thanks, Barbara.
I agree. Let me just finish with 2 sentences here. And I see Sally's hand is up, so I don't want to take up too much space. But the natural attrition that I've seen happen on this commission seems to take care of, Jordan, pretty much some of the concerns that you've had. Are you hearing something from supervisors that show a concern? Because I think Barbara's point is well taken. If we were a dull and staid commission that was providing minimal support and concerns and education to the county, I think that might be an appropriate conversation. But have you spoken to a supervisor who has a concern?
No.
Okay, so you're trying to be proactive.
Yeah, trying to be proactive. Exactly.
All right, that's it. That's my.
Yeah. Okay.
Sally, I think.
This is Bob Beach. Can anybody hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Hang on just a second. Sally was trying to talk, but she's muted. So Sally, why don't you go ahead and then Bob, you'll go next. Sally, you're still muted. Tell you what, Sally, you try and work out your technical difficulties. Bob, why don't you go ahead and then we'll come back to Sally.
Okay, thank you.
Sally, we can't hear you. You might have to call in, or if Grace can't help you. Bob, go ahead.
All right, I'll try again. Now it don't seem to be working. There you go. Hey, I'm one of the other commissioners who served about 21 years. I want to ask just one question. Has anyone gone through over the years and made a list of commissioners and their dates for, maybe even just for the last 20 years or whatever, and measured the turnover? How many new people do we have on the commission that weren't here a number of years ago versus how many have retired? To see if our attrition rate is such that we do have a turnover. I believe in the 20 years I've been here, I've seen some new faces, and I can remember in 2000 who was on the commission and who is not now. So I've seen a lot of turnover over those years, and I'm not so sure that it's a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
We do have term limits on officers.
Right.
It's put in to our bylaw changes when I became chair. That was one of my initiatives. And I think that has a high value, meaning you can only serve 3 years in a row, and then you have to take at least a year off before you can come back and be in that position. But that's for the 4 officerships that we have. I've always been cognizant and impressed, sufficiently impressed with our supervisors and their ability to select people to be on the commission. And somehow they just sort of seem to get it right. we have such a balance of knowledge on the commission for all of the things that we're involved in. Everybody, all of us commissioners have our own little area of expertise, and we need each other to do this job. We lean on each other because each of us has that special expertise in one area or multiple areas in some cases. It's amazing to me how professional everybody's been in their offerings to support the commission and its activities over these many years. I do realize that we've had a few people that have been on for a lifetime. Mayo Stunts for one, and a few others, but we've needed them. They've been very valuable to us. I don't know if we're stale. I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
And we've instituted a lot of new programs, been very successful as a commission together. And I've been very thankful for, and many of the new people who have come on. Jordan, you're certainly in that group, but there's others. And I think we get enough turnover that it's probably not a problem. But I think if we wanted to be really due diligent about it, we should make a list and figure that out and see how much turnover we've had.
Yeah, good suggestion.
As a percentage of
Today, this is Barbara. I thought of that today, but since Denise isn't here, I was going to ask, and I know a long list was sent out early in the year that is the clerk's listing of everybody that's ever been on it, but on the commission, but it would, need somebody to go through and pull out the dates. I also want to point out that Bob sits in the architect's chair. And so certainly well qualified for that assignment. So
yeah, we tried to get somebody else to come in and take over, but he didn't have this. He didn't have any stamina.
This is Carol. And Stunts, didn't we do this a couple of years ago? Didn't we make a list? I made a list.
I think we do have, I think all that data is there pretty available somewhere. If nothing else, remember.
Because I remember going through this whole thing. Maybe it was just officers every year, but it was from the very beginning when the History Commission, Landmarks Preservation, when it started, and we had quite a list. So
everyone may remember that very exciting book on preservation in Fairfax County, that nice hardback red book.
Yes.
I think that one of its features is it lists let me find one of my copies.
It's on my shelf.
Can I make
While you're doing that,
it's in this month's share file. It's in this month's share file, the board's accounting of who's been on the commission for a large number of years.
I remember that. Yes.
Elliot just let us know that.
That's what came out earlier.
Well, I don't read email during the meeting consistently.
No, he put it in the chat.
Oh, it's not an
Yeah,
email.
good. I only looked at the first 3 lines of that and said,
Thanks, Elliot.
Thank you, Elliot.
I think Sally had something to say.
Yes, thank you, Esther. I was just going to come back to that.
Can you hear me?
Yay!
Yay! Okay, I don't know what it was. I was going to add that when Dan Stork first came on as our supervisor, he proposed that all boards and commissions should have a limited number of terms. And he was met with a resounding negative response. But also the biggest thing he found out was that when he tried to replace people, it sometimes took him 6 months to find someone willing to take a position.
Yeah.
So.
Say, how many empty positions do we have right now, or do we have any?
I think we
have one.
Yeah, we do. We have one.
We have the second Mason seat that's been vacant for many, many, many years.
Yes.
Supervisor Gross apparently knows it's vacant, and she's going to do something about it one day.
Is that Mike's? Was that Mike Irwin's?
No, Mike is Sue.
Oh, Mike is Sue. Okay.
You didn't know you were Mike.
Confidence.
I think it was Charlie filling it. So I may be gone in December since I'm just filling Mike's. And I wanted to say something
I understand where Jordan's coming from. Now, it has taken a year, and I feel like I am still finding my way, as are some of the other newer members. The expertise is wonderful, but maybe we do need to think about getting a different kind of, younger demographic at some point. And I don't know how to do that, but I believe that it's important for all boards and commissions to have some turnover at some point. And I almost would say 10 years is kind of, and then reevaluate and then step back. But as I said, I'm a short timer, so I'm just saying what I think.
You'll learn, Sue. Look at Tammy. We have people. We have new people. Yes. We're not. We also have a 539-page report that this commission was able to pull together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the fact that the commission does so much.
Yeah, we have
I agree.
flagship.
No, this commission doesn't just sit.
The only thing that I hear as a commonality that might be helpful, and I'm happy to discuss this some other time, is the immersion and training and backfill of information for new members. And I think that is a topic that we could, with a committee, work on trying to refine and focus on. And, honest to Pete, folks, I've been in here for a long time, but every meeting we have, I'm always learning something new about what else is going on around the county and what y'all are doing. And
I think that's the nature of the commission.
Exactly. So as with other organizations, we are a little different because while we are a collective body, we all have our own focus areas. And I think that is the gift of continual rejuvenation and commitment to excellence for this commission.
I don't want to squelch conversation, but I do also want to keep us on some sort of timeline. There have been some people who have not had, so Mary, I was going to say, there have been a few people who haven't sent anything. So Mary, go ahead.
Just a real quick suggestion. Any first-year teacher in Fairfax County has a mentor. And that was brought up recently, and that might be a good idea to, help newbies or whatever we want to call them, but also to keep that knowledge continuing. So if that mentor eventually retires, it has been shared. Just a thought.
Good idea. Phyllis or Subi? Subi, you're muted.
So as a newcomer and into a commission like this, I was a little surprised at the lack of term limits and how long some people have been on it. But as I got to know the function and the actions of the commission and what each of the commissioners bring to the table, I knew that someone like me could never, ever bring to the table what some of the other longer term members do. So I grew to appreciate what many of you bring to the table in terms of historical knowledge, experience, that I could never presume to bring. So I say that there's a lot of value in that. I also think that there needs to be an influx of fresh blood. And I think a younger demographic, and by young, I'm by no means talking about myself. I mean, really young, like 20s and 30s, so that we can grow the next cohort of local historians. And I don't know if that's a commissioner or an intern program or something that we sponsor, but I feel like we can't take I feel like there needs to be something to give to the future in terms of talent management.
Yeah, thank you, Subi. I think that's one of the most important reasons for why I'm having this discussion. Many organizations have youth initiatives, and that might be something for us to look at and to develop. We get some youth coming to the history conference. It's a one-time event, but we really do need to reach out to a younger. I don't know what the average age of the folks on this commission is, but I'll venture to say it's probably, up in the high 60s, 70s, and we do need to bring younger people in for the future of what we do and preservation in general. So, thank you.
I thought it was 42, Jordan.
Thank you.
That's just you, Lynn. You know, speaking of younger people, this is a great conversation. I'm glad you brought this whole thing up, Jordan, because it's important to think about it. Speaking of younger people, I remember going to a conference session, maybe it was VAM, where they were a lot of museums were talking about these young board of supervisors, sort of parallel boards of supervisors, not supervisors, boards, parallel governing boards that were for youth to do youth kinds of activities. Maybe one museum had this other youth aspect to them that was in charge of doing a few events in their youthful way, and it was super successful in getting engagement from so that's worth, it's always worth looking at what other organizations are doing, like you say. And the other part, to take it another step, is I wonder what other history commissions that are like us do with term limits, because we really do value the deep knowledge, which is really only gotten by being really old and studying it for all these years. But there may be other ways that other organizations have worked to solve some of these issues that you've raised tonight.
Yeah,
so I think that there's some.
I was just going to say
we're members. I think we can do.
Yeah, thank you. We are members of the National Association of Historic Commissions, or something of that nature, councils and commissions, and I'd be happy to contact. They're also, by the way, a member of the advisory council. I'd be happy to contact their leader and see if I can get that information.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
This has been a really interesting conversation. Gretchen, I see you made yourself visible. Do you have something you wanted to contribute?
Well, I was just going to say, if you want to know what other local ones do, the Alexandria version, it's called the Historic Alexandria Resources Commission, has a 10-year term limit. And people serve their time and they roll off, and we have, different people, join. That we don't usually have a problem recruiting members. And it's been a very, vital, interesting part of the group. And because of the rotation, it gives us a chance to bring on some new retirees. And we've really benefited in Alexandria from some of the retirements from people who've been with the Park Service and the State Department and other organizations with parallel interests to the commission. So it hasn't been an issue for us. Having said that, I've been on the commission for like 14, 15 years. So I used to be in my 30s when I joined. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I wanted to contribute.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Sally, yes, Esther, hang on just 1 second. Go ahead, Sally.
We might consider adding a student member to the board, because there are student members on several boards, including the Board of Supervisors, and those people often go on to become very active in county government. I've seen several cases of it, or to run programs in the county.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Esther?
Yes, Madam Chair, I was going to suggest that we get back to our agenda.
Yes.
Perhaps you would like to think about that and appoint a committee between now and the next meeting.
We can do that. Do you want to make a motion to that effect, Esther? Do we need a motion for that?
No, I'd like us to just get back to the agenda.
Okay. All right. I can do that unilaterally, I suppose. I think I can, as chair, I can appoint committees. So that might be a good idea in terms of following up on some of these suggestions about evaluating the turnover and investigating other jurisdictions and incorporating some sort of youth membership.
So Cheryl, as I brought this upon myself, I'm happy to be a part of that, however you decide to put it together.
Sounds awesome. And anybody else, you can just email me and I will, if you're interested in participating in that group.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody for this discussion. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. All right, let us continue on with our agenda because it is getting late. Thank you, Esther. Staff reports. Liz has, as I said, Liz doesn't have a report for this evening. Amy's report was Liz's report. Heritage Conservation Branch. Thank you, Stephanie, for hanging in with us.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So updates for the Heritage Conservation Branch. I'll begin with museum collections. The museum collections artifacts blog for September highlighted a school bell. The museum collections manager gave a tour of collections to 2 new LTE staff members from Sully Historic Site. The museum collections manager attended a collections facility finishes meeting on September 7th and continues to answer questions and provide information to the project manager as needed. And the museum collections manager presented at the Mid-Atlantic Association of Museums annual conference on October 5th. The panel session was entitled Collections During Crisis, Installing Innovative Exhibits and Moving Collections During a Pandemic. For operations and maintenance projects, the repair work and maintenance work by AP Construction for Ash Grove's historic brick kitchen is complete. The smokehouse was also painted. For HSVC, the Historic Sites Volunteer Corps, the museum collections manager continues to assist with administrative duties here until am I reading the wrong? Oh no, this is right. I'm sorry. The position was filled, and they'll be starting shortly within the month. A volunteer cleanup event was held at the Hunter House on September 18th, and the next event will be held for the YSML's Ultimate Gift at the Nike site on October 23rd. And this will be a large event, over 100 volunteers, which will make a significant impact to the site. For the resident curator program updates, the special exception application for Service Source, the resident curator for Elmore Farmhouse, is progressing through the review by the Department of Planning and Zoning. The application period for the curatorship of Margaret White Gardens is open now through November 10th. So the application package is available on the Resident Curator Program website, as well as the Ash Grove application period. That will be open through November 17th, and that application package can be found on the Resident Curator Program website as well. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you so much, Stephanie. Appreciate your report.
Absolutely. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Chris, are you still with us? Chris Barbashak, Virginia Room. He was on the phone earlier. So
it does not look like he is with us any
okay.
longer.
Yeah, it's getting quite late, especially for folks who have to be up and at work tomorrow. We might want to reorganize this agenda a little bit in deference to our staff support here. So we'll skip that. There is a written report for Virginia, for the Virginia room that's included in that agenda. They're doing some interesting things that desegregation of public libraries looks really interesting. And I'll let commission members read that, and they can direct questions to Chris.
I'd like to really urge people to read it. It's quite something and we've got the URL right here. It is really good, Cheryl. So yeah,
the desegregation of libraries.
The piece on desegregation of the libraries. Yeah. Very good. And the Virginia room. Oh, well, I can say this at the end. Never mind.
Okay.
The Virginia room, Friends of the Virginia room has this guy, has Chris and Suzanne giving a talk about it on October 17th, Sunday. So that's something that we should, I'll forward you the thing about it.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. And Denise is not here from Planning and Development. So again, she has a written report that you can refer to. I don't know if anybody, similarly has any questions. Talks about Wellington. We're still waiting to hear about the Holland Hills HOD potential. Similarly, Homes Run and the like. Okay, so it's a very extensive report, as Denise always are. I'm always amazed at how much she is involved with. Let's go on to our committee reports. Lynn, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. All right. So a little bit of history. I had the good fortune on Saturday to see out at Waterford our former Commissioner Debbie Robinson and her new home and set up out there, and she is contributing mightily to Waterford. So she says hello and sends everybody her best. Okay, in terms of the history conference, first of all, I want to begin with a very, very hearty thank you to David Meyer. David worked very hard to make sure that our venue could have been available to us at no cost this year for the history conference. And sadly, at our conference committee meeting last week, based on everything going on with the Delta variant and COVID, we have unanimously decided to do the history conference this year as a live stream. So David, thank you for your goodwill and your energy in that regard. Really appreciate that. And thank you for those of you that turned out for our last conference committee meeting. Probably the biggest piece to go over very quickly with you was an attachment you would have gotten earlier this evening from Cheryl. We've made just a couple of tweaks to the Save the Date brochure. Sue had a question about getting the logos in. I don't know if we still have Liz with us or not.
Lynn, she'll talk to you about that in the morning. I did email her.
You did connect with her about that. Okay, great. So
yes,
I do need to do that. I need to do that. All right, so that's good. Just a couple of tweaks. So it is now alive and ready to go out to the general public. So take what you have and please forward it everywhere. I made some notes in our last commission conference planning committee about a whole host of different places that this brochure is going to go, and those of us that took charge of making sure FOFA gets copies and Suzanne Levy gets copies and Visit Fairfax and Patrick Lennon and folks like that get copies of this, because this really does need to go out ASAP right now.
Lynn,
yes,
this is Mary. I just have a quick moment to look at those people who have always been to conferences are used to paying. It doesn't say that there is, I mean, I assume live streaming, they'll get it, but I just wondered if you could put like free registration or no registration or whatever, no fees, if there's any space for that. So there's no question about it.
Wow. Okay. So
that's up to you. I would think that
here's kind of my frustration. This brochure was done about a month ago. And in the last 4 or 5 days, I've gotten requests for tweaks and tweaks and tweaks.
Okay.
Let me take this back to the committee members. If you've got suggestions as to, where this free registration might go on this flyer, let me know within the next 24 hours if you possibly can. Mary, I think your suggestion is honorable and makes a lot of sense. It's just hard at the 11th hour when normally we get this flyer out in July. Okay.
Well, if it's being emailed to a lot of places, then it could be put in the
actual
text of the email.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a possibility. All right. So those of you that said you would take that on, I would feel happy about that. So
the only registration is for those that want to do their exhibits or their books. Other than that, there's no registration, just come.
Right. Exactly. Because it says for authors and exhibitors only.
Right.
Exhibitors only, excuse me. Okay, so we've got that. Think anything else there? I don't think much more about that. Our next meeting will be the 27th of October. Again, we will do a WebEx at 7:30. And Grace was kind enough to note that during our last meeting. So that's a good thing. Anything else, conference committee? Okie dokie.
Just to inform the commission, this is Esther. I was responsible for contacting the caterer, Jason's Deli.
Good point. Thank you.
And we have worked very closely with the manager there. And he understood totally what we were going through, but I did, after verbally explaining it, I did put it in writing, and he did respond. So that I told him we would keep him in mind for future events.
So that having been said too, and thank you, Esther, for doing that. Esther's always been our liaison for our catering and our food. It means that the original budget that we presented and requested with the commission obviously will now be considerably less than it might have been. So we'll just maybe carry some of that over for the next year. All right, I think that's it for the conference. Let me quick do awards. I think you all know that we are doing Jeff Clark and Maura Kearney for distinguished service. And those two awards have been okayed by the committee. We did have a question to the county about giving an award to someone who was a member of the Fairfax County Public Schools, amended that to Fairfax County teachers. And we need to do some more work on that and find out how we can know for sure. I'm kind of using a backdoor approach right now to just simply go to the Fairfax County Public School System and ask, do they have a problem with teachers getting awards? And I could go into more detail about that, but I'd rather not to tonight. The response that we got from the county attorney's office was somewhat odd. Okay, so I think pretty much that is it. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm bowing out, guys. I had a rough night last night, saw a doctor today. I've got medical tests coming up in the morning, so.
Thank you for staying as long as you did, Lynn.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, good. Best of luck tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Phyllis and Mary, you're up.
Okay. Our report did not get included.
My apologies.
I didn't send it.
Okay.
So I will be sending it. Part of the report was to talk about the county Board of Supervisors K through 12 marker project, and Mary's already given you the latest update as of her meeting yesterday, so I won't go into what we had talked about in our meeting on the 14th. We had 11 members in attendance. We discussed Mary's list of the general resources that she's provided to the K through 12 marker group,
and is also circulating to some of the history teachers out in the county. And we talked about how to include that, or whether to include that with our templates and listings that we're finding with the project. And the last thing is to let you know that Mary and I on Monday met with the Capstone GMU students that will be helping us design the platform that all of our listing data and the general resources will go on. And it's a good thing to know that they're all engineering students. They're seniors, will be graduating in May of next year. And they're I believe it's 5 plus a team leader that heads up the team. And that we will be meeting with them bi-monthly. And I think that's about it.
Awesome.
Mary, did you have some,
we just
want to
may
add something?
Yeah, we just may want to alert the committee members. I know we meet next Tuesday, but they have requested for us to give them an estimate of how many templates we may have. Now, I don't know specifically yet, but if you can, give us an idea at our meeting on Tuesday, that would be helpful, that we can pass on to them. So that'll help in their planning. And that's it.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, it should be, it's exciting to see
Yeah.
what they're going to come up with. All right. Gretchen, you want to talk about the semi-quincentennial?
Sure. You have everything in your notes already. I'll just draw attention to 2 things. One is that the State Commission is preparing to hire an executive director, which is exciting. And then on the local level, the work group is going to kind of morph into a commission, a formal commission. And at the next Board of Supervisors meeting, they are appointing 1 representative from each magisterial district to formerly known as the work group. So that's the only change so far. So still in its infancy and still forming, and I'll keep you posted. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Inventory, Elise?
Nothing to report this month on inventory. I do have some thoughts that I'd like to run by the committee, but all that will be done behind scenes. I'm still working on the budget request, and the annual report is still pending.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate your effort on all of those 3 critical fronts. Mary, do you have anything else to add about markers?
We had the James Lee Elementary School marker dedication on Saturday. I apologize if that invitation, I assumed when they sent it to me, it was going out to the whole History Commission. And so I hurriedly got it out on Friday. So I apologize if any of you wanted to be there and didn't get it in time. It was well attended, a very nice ceremony, beautiful weather, etc. I have no word from VDOT about the permit for Pleasant Grove to be put on Lewinsville Road. Carol submitted 2 checks for markers, one in the Drainsville Tavern and the other on a contraband camp. And I think I told Carol, I am overwhelmed right now, and I will get to those as soon as I can. And I think Carol was understanding of that. And we got responses.
Wait, let's interrupt. This is Carol.
Yeah.
There is no rush. It's just I had promised a while back I'd do Drainsville, so I thought I better get it in. So
well,
now it's in your.
It. Yeah. Now it's in my inbox. Yes. Okay. And we got responses from the county attorney for questions from about Civil War Trail markers. Somehow we need to figure out, Cheryl and Gretchen has copies of them too, and if there needs to be a meeting about them to discuss, or I just have some general ideas that I think we could handle, but I need input from Cheryl and Gretchen.
Yeah, my apologies, Mary. I keep meaning to get around to it and keeps
Well, I know it's in your
getting,
inbox, just like me. So
yes, exactly. It keeps getting slid around in terms of
Yeah.
priority.
Were there any questions for the marker committee? Then on to cemeteries. I know we haven't officially done anything with the cemetery committee. I would like to next year, January, February, to get together as a committee and actually work on an MOA that we could do with our cemetery association. So there'd be a formal understanding between the two groups and how we can support each other. There is a large group of people working on Germantown Cemetery, and we found out there was a trusteeship and a 501c3 already. When Dennis Howard was alive, he had created them. So people are in the process of restarting the trusteeship and the 501c3. Working with the families that represent Neal Cemetery on Sutton Road. We had an Eagle Scout lined up for the $4 Sims project, but it dragged on while the owner was out of the country. And so he has moved on to another project. So we have a cemetery that the owner is open to discussing with an Eagle Scout project. If anybody knows, it's on, oh shoot, what's the name of the road? Seneca Road. Am I right on that? Yeah, Seneca Road in Great Falls. It would be a matter of brush removal. He was going to do repairs of fences, etc. All this has to be worked out with the owner. So as I said, the scout couldn't meet with him, and so he found another project. This weekend, there'll be an Eagle Scout project at the Sons and Daughters at the Pine Ridge Park on Woodburn Road. Hopefully it doesn't rain on us, but we've gotten the go-ahead. The Park Authority put in a lot of little concrete markers, which are falling because they're not deep enough in the earth. So we got permission to work on fixing those and getting them. So hopefully they'll stay upright. That's it.
All right, sounds good. Ethnic and oral history, Esther.
Thank you. I know the hour is late again, so this will be short. At our last meeting on September 21st, we had a WebEx meeting and had 6 present. I do apologize for not sending in a written report. We discussed our plans going forward, and no major decisions were made except that we will organize better, and questions for the citizen interviews were discussed. Our next meeting is November 16th at 7 p.m. We are to continue to read A Nation of Nations, a book by Tom Jolton, Gjelten. And any of the commissioners that are interested, I suggest reading the book. It's very interesting because it actually talks about Fairfax County and the diversity. So that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you so much. Resident Curator Program, Bob, do you have anything to add?
Yes, just one thing, because Stephanie gave the report. She did not mention that the Resident Curators Program staff coordinated the annual maintenance inspection for the Stemson House in early September. All other items on my report she did cover, so I just needed to add that one item. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate that. And I don't think there's anything for bylaws. Advocacy, and do you have anything to report for that?
We'll have a meeting this month. We're pinning down a date. And if anybody who's not on the committee wants to be on it, please feel free to join us. Get in touch with me. We got lots to advocate for.
Elise, anything with regard to ARB liaison?
I finished my report at about 6:30 and emailed it to Denise and Elliot and Cheryl, so it'll probably be attached to the minutes. It was a really easy meeting. We had one consent item which involved an after the fact approval for Hickory Hill in the Langley Fork Historic District. 3 approvals of, and then the rest were all things that we've worked on extensively in the past. 3 of them were in Lorton, in the Lorton Correctional Complex. The most important of those was approving the plans for the building that's going to be renovated to become the new archaeology facility.
Okay.
And we approved another item in the Sully district, and we had an ARB, a workshop on the proposed adaptive reuse of the reformatory power plant.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Proposed adaptive reuse of the reformatory power plant.
Of the power plant, okay.
The developer has been struggling with it and has decided to go residential.
Interesting.
So if you want it sooner, email me, but otherwise it'll be with the minutes, I guess.
Okay. All right, thank you. And wrapping up for the evening, David, do you have anything to add about Fairfax City?
Oh, sorry.
A couple of things. One, I've told you about our stakeholder advisory committee that was created last fall, and the committee of citizens held a series of education and listening and learning sessions and on a whole host of issues over the course of 6 months. They were outstanding. They had outstanding programs with national historians addressing the issue of segregation, lost cause, reconstruction, and why the Northern Virginia region is the way it is with respect to some of the nomenclature and street names, etc. So this committee came back to the City Council with 3 categories of recommendations. One, to revise monuments and markers within the city. This isn't to replace them or take them down, but to create new language that's more inclusive. Some of the markers will be relocated to more accurate locations. The second is the city seal. Our city seal, believe it or not, has Confederate soldiers on it, and so we are going to revise our seal. And thirdly, they came in with recommendations on the changing of street names. We have 26, actually 28 residential streets in the city that need, that are recommended. Some of them have been recommended for change. In addition to that, we will be working with the county on the whole vexing issue of Lee Highway. As you know, Lee Highway crosses through all of Virginia and into Washington, D.C., US 29, and the county of Arlington changed it to Langston Highway from the Potomac River to the Fairfax County line. I've met with Dahlia Palchek, and then separately I've met with James Walkinshaw, and we are going to have hopefully have a regional approach to how we treat that road in terms of its nomenclature. It just makes sense that we try to coordinate between the city and the county with respect to that road. The Stakeholder Advisory Committee's report was accepted by the City Council on September 28. The council appointed 2 council members plus myself to come back with recommendations on how to implement the recommendations that are in the report. And we've had several meetings this week on it, and it's a very big challenge to figure out how to go about changing street names. The names of streets are very, very emotional, as you can imagine. Every person on this call can remember to their childhood what street they grew up on. And that is a profoundly defining element of each person's, except for maybe the people who are in the military and were moved around every year. But so we have to navigate that rather carefully. On September 26th, I attended a meeting with at Mount Calvary Baptist Church in the city regarding the Germantown Cemetery, and I appreciate Mary mentioning that. Dennis Howard was a close friend of mine from the age of 18 on. We went to college together, and so you are correct that there is a renewed interest among the trustees and the 501c3 to make improvements to the Germantown Cemetery. And that is all I have to report this time. Oh, no, one more thing. We are in the process of letting a contract now, finally, to begin the restoration of Old Town Hall. And we have some other possible exciting news that I will hold in abeyance until it's final, relative to some new sources of funding. But for that building, but we'll wait until next year. Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Excellent, really interesting things that you're doing, David. This is quite a list of interesting projects. All right, so do we have any announcements? I know Anne had one about the library, Friends of the Virginia Room.
Yeah, Saturday, October 17. I think it's at 2. I'll make sure that everybody gets the announcement when I get it.
Awesome.
That'll be really good because that's the one on the desegregation of the libraries.
This may not be this is not historically related, but it just may be of general interest to all of you. On Thursday, October 21, Greg Washington will be inaugurated as the 8th president of George Mason University. And I had the opportunity to have lunch with him about 2 weeks ago. He's a very impressive leader. And I think things are looking up here. It's a very positive move for George Mason University.
Awesome.
He is also he's the first African-American president of the university as well.
He doesn't November 21st?
Yes.
November or October?
I mean, I misspoke. October 21st. Not
That's
November.
what I had written down.
October. It's late.
So this
sorry.
is the man who started July 1st, 2020, and they wait this long to inaugurate him?
It was because of the pandemic.
I wondered. Thanks,
Yeah.
David.
The school was virtual last year.
Yeah, he's a terrific guy. He spoke to Vienna in person for Liberty Amendments, and he was really impressive.
Any other announcements? Tammy?
Yes, the Mount Vernon Regional Historical Society is going to have another outdoor tour, and this is going to be of the Springbank property. And this was a historic Mason family home, but it also had history. There were slave traders that lived there, and then also it was later owned by Henry Quander. So, you know, the property just has this amazing history to it. So it's going to be part nature walk, part history tour. So we're really lucky to be able to do that. October 24th at 2 p.m. So I'll send out more information as we get a flyer going for that.
Sounds great. Anybody else? Any other announcements? You all want to come out to Centerville Day? That's October 16th between 10 and 5 out in the historic Centerville Park. Okay, I think there's nobody else who has anything else to say. We can be adjourned.
Hey,
At least we are. Oh, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, just one thing, little historical note. My stepfather is a World War II veteran. Passed away Saturday.
Oh, so sorry.
However, he had a birthday on the 15th of September. He was 100.
Yeah.
Oh, he made it.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
there you go. A little history. Anyway, naval officer.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing history, family history there,
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, you know, hopefully we're not going to stay here till we are 100. We will adjourn. And thank you all for your patience and for working through. I know, you know, these, I keep hoping and expecting, oh, this month is not going to be so bad. And then it's amazing how many things file in at the last minute. We'll try and continue to work and see if we can get it a little bit sharper, but at least it's not 10:30.
It was a good meeting. It was a good meeting. We
Good meeting.
covered a lot.
Excellent meeting. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
and do be sure to drop me a line if you want to participate with Jordan on that committee to look into term limits in a broader context and perspective.
Okay.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Night.
Night.
Thank you. Bye.